A couple weeks ago, I did a video about the house that's under construction in Glacier Park. It got tons of views and over 1,200 comments. Most people were debating about property rights and what you should and shouldn't be allowed to do with your own property. In this video, I thought we should go over property rights in Montana and how they could affect you.
Alright, so I climbed all the way up this mountain to give you a better view of Montana. So the least you can do is subscribe to our channel. And when you do, don't forget to hit the little bell and you'll be notified every time we make a new video about Montana.
So just to recap, I was just telling everybody what was happening with that house they were building in Glacier. I wasn't trying to take any sides. I was just showing everybody what's happening in our part of Montana. In fact, everything that I was talking about came right out of this news article. So don't kill the messenger. But apparently, a lot of people thought I was the one that filed the lawsuit and I was the one that came up with all this trouble for the homeowners. Like this guy. Wow, sounds like a lot of jealousy. Get over it, Karen. And then we had this one. So this video is you complaining about citizens pursuing their life, liberty, and happiness. I'm so rooting for the waterfront homeowners. Then we had a bunch of people complaining about the term loophole. It's not a loophole, it is the law. There are no such things as loopholes, get it right. And stop calling it a loophole. It is not a loophole, it is the letter of the law. They are not trying to get away with it in any way. They are abiding by the law. I don't like the house being built there, but it's not a loophole. These people need to look up the term loophole. It's not against the law, it's just something that the law doesn't cover. I'm sure everybody here has taken advantage of some tax loopholes in the past, so I'm not sure the loophole argument is all that valid. Most of the other comments about the house were pretty split. Like this guy, good luck getting flood insurance. Any reasonable person would know never to build that close. And this guy, I would not build that close to a waterway. Should be at least 30 foot above the water level. They're looking for trouble in the future. And the anti-people, good for them. The less government messes with people's property rights, the better. The judge ruled well. Enough regulation. It's getting ridiculous with all the rules and regulations about what you can do with your own property. And finally, this guy says they bought the land. The rights to the land were granted at the time of the original conveyance. The judge made the right decision. It sounds like sour apples from the complainers. Folks should just mind their own business. And then there was this guy who I had heard about this but wasn't sure. And he says, interesting fact, before 1964, there was a cabin in that exact location owned by the Schultz family. Then, in 1964, the flood came and flooded the cabin off the property and into the lake, and then it got stuck under the bridge as the water receded, and they had to use dynamite to blow the cabin up to get it unstuck. Pieces of the cabin's chimney still remain at the waterfront. So for nearly 40 years, there was a cabin on that exact location. This is probably something that everybody worries about with this house in the future. And that brings us to this last comment that will lead us into another thing I'd like to talk about with rights here in Montana. This guy says, if it's private property, the way I personally look at it, it belongs to an individual who worked very hard to buy it. They should be allowed to do whatever they want to do with it, and it's nobody's business. And this response is perfect. Can they dump hazardous waste on their property? And therein lies the big dilemma for Montana landowners and people that want absolute property rights. At what point should there be some rules? And that's what all this seems to be about. I get tons and tons of people that want to move up to Montana because they don't like laws and they don't want all the laws they may have in the state they're coming from. And they love the fact that you can buy property here that has no covenants and no rules. Well, like I tell everybody, that sounds great on paper until somebody puts a junkyard next door to your house, or like this incident down in Lakeside over the past few years. There was a 10-acre lot down there and no covenants. For some reason down in Lakeside, there's a lot of areas that don't have any covenants, and it's what people wanted. They never got together and put in any zoning or any type of rules for this land. Well, then these people show up a few years ago and they decide they're going to put this in. This is an alpine coaster, and as you can imagine, the homes that border this property are now going to hear people screaming all summer, having fun, laughing, and the noise of the coaster going around all day, every day in the middle of summer. Again, this is because there was no covenants on the property. When everybody got wind of what was going in there, they all freaked out and tried to get it stopped, but because there was no rules, the people bought the 10 acres in good faith and they can do what they want. So that was the perfect example of where having a few rules may have helped people out. But like I said, I get so many people that come up here wanting to buy property and they don't want any rules, and this is the chance you take. The other thing happening down in Lakeside right now, I don't think it's official yet, but they're looking to put in a giant golf course and resort. And again, they had a pretty easy time of, buying the property and putting the plans together because there was no rules on this land. So now, obviously people right around it and people with easements that are going to be used to get to that property. There's a whole bunch of people kind of up in arms about this huge development going in, but because there were no laws, no zoning, it was easy for somebody to come in and buy this big chunk of property, and now they're going to put in a golf course and a ton of homes. So when you're looking at buying land up here, the moral of the story is don't be too hard on any land that may have some covenants, because they may help you in the long run. There are still plenty of places that don't have covenants if you want to go that route, but just remember the chance you're taking, and you never know who your neighbor may turn out to be in the future. And it could end up, if you put a lot of money into a house and somebody does something weird next door, what's that going to do to your value? So keep that in mind, and always check the neighboring properties and check the zoning, if there is any, on the neighboring properties, so you know what you may be in for in the future.
Thank you for watching our video. Please call, text, or email for more information, and don't forget to watch our other videos about Montana.